Picture this: a teenager, barely old enough to grow a full beard, sitting on the chair of Peter with the power to speak for God's church on earth. Not a metaphor, not a legend. It actually happened. Most lists point to Pope Benedict IX, who was around 20 years old when he was first elected, possibly making him the youngest pope in Catholic history. He wasn't some random pick either. He was the nephew of two previous popes, Benedict VIII and John XIX, and his father literally bought him the papacy through bribery in October 1032. Nepotism at its most literal. Here's where it gets murky because around 20 might be generous. Some sources, based on a monk named Rodolphus Glaber, claim he was as young as 11 or 12. That account is disputed and largely unsubstantiated, but if true, it would make him the youngest by a landslide. If it's false, the title might actually belong to Pope John XII, who was somewhere between 17 and 25 when he took office. And before anyone romanticizes this, Benedict IX's papacy was not exactly a model of holiness. He's remembered as one of the bad popes. He was driven out of Rome, replaced, took the papacy back, and get this, is the only man in history to have been pope more than once, and the only pope ever accused of literally selling the papacy. He reigned across 3 separate terms before it was all over. Compare that to now. Pope Leo XIV was elected at 69, and even he's considered young by recent standards. Benedict XVI was 78, and Francis was 76 when chosen. The youngest pope of the modern era, Pius IX in 1846, was still 54. 1,000 years of church history separates a preteen on the papal throne from a church that now waits for decades of wisdom before handing over the keys. Here's the thing. The church survived Benedict IX, not because he was a good steward of it, but because the papacy was never about one man's character holding the whole thing together. It's a promise bigger than the person sitting in the chair. That should actually be comforting. God doesn't need a perfect pope to keep his promises. He just needs the church to keep showing up. So if the youngest pope was this much of a mess, who was the worst? Next video, we're ranking the church's most scandalous popes. And trust me, Benedict IX isn't even the worst on the list. Subscribe so you don't miss it.